Hey, boss.
How are you doing?
Sit down, man. I didn't know you were here yet. Noah Gragson is here. He drives the number 9 car in Xfinity Series for Dale Jr. He's made, what, 6, 7 Cup starts? How many Cup starts you got?
Yeah, 6 or 7 now.
Oh, honestly, it's nice to meet you. I've never met him yet. This is the first time I've ever met him. I know, isn't that wild? I love the way you drive a race car. I love that you don't pander to other people's BS. I love the way that you carry yourself. And what is it like when you make your way to the top levels of NASCAR and all of a sudden you're shoving people around for your own real estate and to make your own way? What's that evolution like, just as a person?
I mean, as a kid, you always dream of making it to the top levels of your profession. And in my
you're
case,
23,
NASCAR.
bro. You're still a kid.
But to me, it feels like being on the racetrack as a kid, racing Bandoleros and legend cars and late models. It doesn't feel any different when you're inside the race car. You still got that competitive factor behind you, and you want to go out there and beat all the other cars. Yes, it's on a lot bigger stage, but when you're a kid, at least in my opinion, you see these Cup guys in Xfinity truck, and they're superheroes. It's like, man, I'll never get there, and then once you get to that point, and I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but you work so hard that it becomes more of a reality, and you're so focused on the preparation side of it and working hard and focusing that you're just going to do your job at the end of the day. But yeah, it feels the same as racing at the local short track when I first started back in 2012, and I just like to go out there, have as much fun as possible, and try and win the race.
Yeah, I think this is the first driver we've ever had on that I've met as many times as Marty. Wes,
Sweet.
Great to meet you.
Noah, great polo.
I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate that. So we were talking to Kyle Larson about all the things that he's raced. And I'm curious, what is something you looked at? A vehicle, like a golf cart, a lawnmower.
What was that?
What's something that you've looked at? You said,
What do you want to race that you have?
I wish I could race that thing. I would beat everybody in it.
Probably a trophy truck like the Baja 1000 down in Mexico. Just go hit jumps and tear it up. I have a friend, Riley Herbst, who races in Xfinity Series. We grew up together, went to the same school, lived in the same neighborhood, jumped our mountain bikes together, rode dirt bikes in the desert together.
Las Vegas, right?
Yeah. Out in Vegas, and his family, they are very invested and have a big history in off-road racing down in Mexico and all over the country. And so I always saw that. I'm like, man, before I started racing, I was like dirt biking, mountain biking, snowboarding. I'm like, man, that's what I want to do. And then the opportunity came about to race Bandolero, which is basically a quarter-sized stock car with a lawnmower motor, basically a go-kart with a roll cage and a body and a lawnmower motor. And went out to the racetrack out in Las Vegas, a guy that my dad worked with, his kids raced, and went out there and kind of, after my first couple of laps, I had the biggest smile ear to ear, and I was hooked. It's they say it's the most expensive addiction that you could ever have, but no, it's been a lot of fun, and I always wanted to race, growing up and on off-road stuff, and hopefully one day I can do that.
How does a man react when Dale Earnhardt Jr. calls?
At first,
When he calls, I want you to walk me through the whole conversation. When he calls you and says, hey, I want you to drive my race car, how's that go?
The first time I ever talked to Dale was after this. I was racing a late model race down in Pensacola, Florida. It's called Snowball Derby. And so
you won that thing.
Back in 2018,
18?
we won the Snowball Derby, and we were signed up to go run over at JR Motorsports and the following year. But this is the tail end of 2018. I was still driving for Kyle Busch in the Truck Series, and this was my last race with that group before moving on over to JR Motorsports. And Dale texted me after the race, and you look through your text and you get a bunch of text, and Dale Earnhardt Jr., it stands out, and so I think as a kid, you always look and you're like, man, these guys are my heroes, and then for it to become a reality, like I was saying, racing in the upper series in NASCAR, it becomes a reality, but that was like a holy shit moment. Like, this guy's texting me right now. He said, a lot of guys have run this race and never won it, including my father. What you did today was something big. And that was probably the coolest moment of that weekend, but of my whole career, to be able to have a guy like Dale Earnhardt Jr., who I've looked up to my whole life, to be not only texting me, but the words he said meant a lot to me.
He's somebody who, like we were talking to Ross Chastain earlier, I like how aggressive Ross is. Now, he made a really good point. Maybe I shouldn't do it on lap 55. Maybe I should wait until lap 299 of 300 to be that aggressive. But I love that aggression. I do. When you're going through something where you're learning, you're aggressive, other drivers might be upset with you, what does Dale say to you? If you're having a conversation with him about, dude, don't tear up my damn race cars.
I think he kind of sees it, from the team owner side of, hey, we don't want to be tearing stuff up. But at the same time, I've had my fair share of let's call them learning experiences and a lot of trial and error. But yeah, I feel like I'm one of the more aggressive drivers, and as I gain more experience, I've kind of toned that down, maybe non-consciously, but just with the more experience comes that maturity behind the wheel and whatnot, and kind of a different outlook on, hey, like Ross said, I don't have to get this spot on lap 55. I can wait till the end of the race, and I think that's kind of where I've matured over the years. But I've had my fair share of talks with higher up people, Dale and his sister Kelly, who she's the real boss of the race team. But yeah, they're tough conversations. But at the end of the day, he always says, try and take this as a learning experience, but don't change and don't change the way you're doing it. Just try and learn from it and become smarter and become better in the future. And I mean, I'm just trying to learn each and every day. Whether it's on the racetrack, off the racetrack, you can learn from any situation and you can learn from anybody. And he's been a great mentor for myself.
The cars are changing. The business model is changing. The ownership is changing. I almost feel like you're coming along at a time where you don't know what you don't know. What is the wildest story you've heard from one of the older drivers, one of the older pit crew guys that just does not compute? Like, this is not the NASCAR that I know.
They actually stayed in hotels.
Yeah. No, I'm staying in a hotel. We're staying I feel like the buses are overrated. They're too expensive. It's dumb. I like to stay with the team and be with them, keep building that relationship. That's, at the end of the day, the only thing you got is your team. And so, I mean, the wildest thing is probably the no cell phone era. You always hear those older guys where they're like, back before cell phones were a thing, we used to do all this and way more, and you just can't get away with that kind of stuff these days. I'm sure you could be pretty creative on...
Use your imagination.
Yeah, use your imagination. But, I mean, they used to run hard back in the day and have a good time. I've heard some good ones.
I was actually around before cell phones in NASCAR, so I can attest to the fact that they used to run really, 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 really hard. I'm so old, I went to Club E, dude. I'm so old, I went to Club E.
What's that?
That's Junior. You don't know what Club E? We got to have
Is that at his place?
I need to take you to college, son.
I know.
That's the cut of the podcast. Go ahead.
I've known Junior since 1998. So I've been to
23 years. That's when I was born.
Your whole life. I've known Junior your whole life. If you're looking in a crystal ball, man, and that crystal ball is full of dreams, what do you want?
Man, that sounds
I've always told myself I want to race for a living. I don't care if it's racing skateboards down the street right here, or if it's racing in the Premier Series in NASCAR. I want to be competitive and do the best job possible, be as prepared as possible. And I don't want to look back in 20 years and say, hey, this, I didn't give it my all. You always want to give it your all and show up prepared. But for me, it's about the joy of the competitiveness. Thank you. This is my girlfriend.
I mean, golly.
She's great. You found yourself a keeper.
How does that happen?
A bucket of beers.
God is so good that could actually just happen.
Yeah, I just met her.
What's in that? Jack Daniels?
Virgin Red Bull vodka.
Yeah, virgin, sure.
Yeah. But no, what was the question? I just want to race. I feel like my idol was Tim Richmond, and I heard him say, I feel like the purpose of me being on this earth
on your way
is to have fun and be myself. And you never know when your last race is going to be. You never know when your last day on this earth is going to be. So might as well live it up and enjoy it. And that's what I try and be. Try and be prepared and do the best job possible, but have as much damn fun as possible.
Last thing, we'll let you run. Why is Tim Richmond your hero? What was it about him that captivated you personally?
He's all these. I mean, he had fun.
I will tell you this. You talk about sheer God-given talent. If that man did not die when he died, Dale wouldn't have all those titles. Davey Allison, you know, those guys. I mean, Tim's just God-given ability and fearlessness was legendary. And he could wheel it, dude.
He's, I've watched his documentary and stuff on 30 for 30, and he's definitely a badass, you know, and somebody I looked up to. I think he's a little more edgy, and I like to show my personality. I just try and be myself, and I may have different hairstyle than other guys and do stuff a little bit differently, but you know, as long as you can get out on the racetrack and do your job at the end of the day, that's the thing that matters. And you know, for me, I like to have a lot of fun, and once I put that helmet on, all that preparation throughout the week, that's where really it's time to go have fun on the weekends and go out and race, and I'm just enjoying it and living it.
Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you for your spirit. Really appreciate your time so much. I know how busy you guys are. Well, tell him thank you and hello. Now listen, if you guys ever recreate the 1987 Winston poster, I'm expecting you to go full.
Have to take a Viagra or something.
Thanks, bro.
Broa
Cheers.
Gragson.
Noah Gragson, my friends.